Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and today marked essentially the start of E3 with EA's press conference ending just about an hour ago. We're going to be seeing Bethesda's press conference later tonight. What I'm going to be doing throughout the length of E3 is handpicking games that I'm really excited for or that surprised me, pretty much anything that I think I will want to play, and then covering it in small videos, large videos, really however much time it takes for me to get those wonderful thoughts out of my hard-headed noggin onto my microphone and out to you guys to develop a little bit of conversation and commentary here on the channel regarding all of these games. So what better game to start with than what is probably one of my most anticipated FPSs of this year, Titanfall 2. That's right, guys. Titanfall 2 was at EA's press conference in a big way. Sadly, not as big as Battlefield, because I'll be honest, as much as I loved what I saw of Battlefield 1. In fact, there's probably a video going up on the channel today, if it's not already up by the time you're watching this, regarding the Battlefield 1 stream. I would have liked to see way more Titanfall 2 multiplayer. Titanfall's always been a game that has had a very special place in my heart because it took risks. And even though in a lot of ways those risks didn't pay off for the life of its multiplayer community, I respect those risks, and I'm happy to see them potentially making more here inside of Titanfall 2. So let's start with the single-player campaign. That's right, guys. You're going to be seeing loops of the trailers because I have no other footage, and who doesn't want to watch this footage again and again and again? I know I actually enjoy that. If it's something you don't like, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below, and I won't do it ever again, but I feel most people don't mind watching a trailer over and over because most of us do that anyways because we like to overanalyze things. So I'm giving you the opportunity to do that while you listen to my wonderful voice. So let's start with that single-player campaign. As I said, guys, it is a actual 100% single-player campaign. You'll be able to play it offline, no co-op. This is handcrafted single-player storytelling, and it's very much focusing on the relationship between man and machine. At this point in the Titanfall universe, whenever this takes place, the Titans have AI now, and they have protocols that they are assigned to complete their missions, protect their pilots. So the main story is going to take place essentially with this Vanguard class Titan known as BT-7274, and the main character who seems to be known as Rivalman Jack Cooper. The idea is that something happens to BT's previous pilot. He is KIA, and whether it's BT and his previous pilot or just BT, he makes a decision to assign the player you to him. So he is now the Titan's pilot, and the Titan has to protect him, and they end up carrying out this mission that he was never originally assigned to, potentially the mission of the pilot who is KIA. All very exciting, sort of, the boy and his robot type stuff. It definitely gives off an Iron Giant vibe. There's one point in the trailer, if you catch it, where he's running alongside the Titan who's like lost an arm, and it's like he's like sort of stumbling. I don't know if it was his Titan or it looks, oh dude, I had enough trouble disconnecting with my Titan in the first game. Now he's like going to be actually having an AI. I'm going to be all dog sick over my Titan dying. It's going to be terrible. But the single player looks really exciting. I really like that connection between the two. There's a point in which at the very end of the trailer where BT says to the player, "Trust me," and just whips this guy onto this wall. So it looked like this crazy platforming segment in the middle of the game at some point. I'm interested to see how they utilize the mobility that Titanfall already offers with the introduction of new elements like the grappling hook, which is going to be available in the multiplayer as well, which we'll talk about later, and how they use that to make sure that there's a lot of variety in the gameplay. The one reason I really wanted a single player for Titanfall with this game was because I liked what the core gameplay of Titanfall already had to offer. You've got, again, the mixture of Titan and pilot movement. How can they mix that into one awesome, campaign? So I'm excited to see them taking that risk. I think it is a risk to create a single-player game. They obviously understand they have the resources and the funding now to make it happen. I like where the story's going. To me, when you have the sort of boy and robot thing, it's kind of a cheat code. Like you're set up with a really great baseline. You just have to make the gameplay interesting. Give us awesome, environmental and gameplay based challenges in the single player, and hopefully they manage to do all of that and more. That single player trailer also highlights like some pretty crazy stuff going on animation wise, and I think this was also a theme with just about everything that I've seen with Titanfall 2, from the single-player trailer to the multiplayer trailer, is a really big overhaul in animations. you know, like small nuances to the way the player handles their weapon. The Titans themselves seem much more articulated, almost as articulated as humans. They're tackling one another. There's crazy like execution style finishing moves with the swords and with their, you know, with their Titan fist and things of that nature. Like they're going really all out to engage one another, and it makes them. It definitely increases, I think, my belief in their personality. You know, whether that will remain the same when I actually play the game is, of course, to be seen. But, you know, the Titans did always feel a little bit lifeless. Apart from them grabbing you and shoving them inside you, they never felt alive. And I think part of it was because they did. They moved so rigid and stiff. Now to see them, like, you know, sliding and dashing across the battlefield, doing crazy sword attacks, whether the player's inside or not, I don't care. It still looks incredible, and it definitely helps bring them to life. So I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be spectacular in the multiplayer. So let's move to the multiplayer. I don't know that much about the single player. That's, again, just kind of my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm happy it's there. I want to know more about the Titanfall universe. We talked about this with the teaser. So hopefully the single player is able to do that and establish, you know, a really exciting set of characters and you know, help us kind of wrap our brains at least a little bit around the universe that exists inside of Titanfall. So multiplayer. The big thing for me with the multiplayer is the obvious introduction of the grappling hook. It looks insane, and you know, again, it lends itself to what seems like a really big push for even more mobility for the players as pilots. And if the Titans are going to be more alive and, you know, more a part of the game than they were before, I think the players are going to need an additional tool set, or an additional tool in this case, in order to evade enemy Titans. That grappling hook could be the answer. Plus, to me, that's just a game plan answer. I love grappling hooks. I love how this seems to be the year of the grappling hook, with Titanfall 2 now, Lawbreakers having, you know, a set of movement abilities, the grappling hook for the assassin. Even Infinite Warfare is doing a grappling hook. Sadly, Battlefield 1 doesn't have a grappling hook, but I imagine that wouldn't make much sense. Anyways, I like grappling hooks. Call me Rico Rodriguez. I don't care. I think it looks awesome. The idea of being able to grappling hook to another player and kick them in the face after you both eject out of a Titan is just like, hell yeah. I am 100% on board for that. So let's talk a little bit, though, about some of the stuff that was officially revealed by Vincent Zampella on stage, you know, for the game's multiplayer. We've got 6 new Titans, as he called it. Now, I don't know if that means 6 Titan chassis overall, or if 6 plus the 3 original Titan chassis. Not really sure how that goes down. Either way, that's a lot of Titans. A whole slew of new Titan abilities, obviously new weapons, new equipment for the players, a lot of which you're seeing inside of the multiplayer trailer, from grenades that sort of create a vortex to crazy Titan smash abilities and laser shooting out of their chests, all mech warrior style. There's obviously a lot of new badass gadgets in the Titanfall arsenal, and I'm really looking forward to messing with all of those. They also talked about customization. They said it briefly, but one of the things that I was able to notice is if I went over to the Titanfall 2 website, they actually already had some like information on the pre-orders for the different versions that will be out, the deluxe edition and like the standard edition, and the fact that they're going to give you camos. And you'll notice that a lot of the Titans that we see in the multiplayer are indeed decked out with different color camos. We see like a green and black camo, a red camo. So there is, you know, obviously some level of customization of the Titans. Whether that carries over to the pilots is to be seen. I didn't really see anything about that. It would definitely be awesome to customize my own pilot, but I'll understand also if they don't take that route. Now they are aiming seemingly for 60 FPS. All of the gameplay that I saw on YouTube, 60 FPS footage. That's just kind of the Respawn way. I don't think they would have it any other way, whether we were talking about the campaign or the single player. The game does look good. The level of detail is there. I felt that the very first Titanfall looked really fantastic. This definitely seems like a step up, but you can also tell that they are prioritizing that 60 FPS, which is 100% okay with me. Give me a nice, crisp, clean, beautiful looking game, and I don't need 50 million polygons on the gun shoved in my face. Make it look good and make it run good, because this is a fast-paced multiplayer experience, and 60 FPS matters. So I am stoked about that. Now I want to talk a little bit about my concerns and hopefully what they can do in terms of, you know, keeping their multiplayer alive this time around. I think having the single player could potentially help in investing players in the universe a little bit more. But at the end of the day, the multiplayer is a separate component, and it needs to succeed on its own. The big thing for me, and a lot of people try and say that Titanfall didn't have enough content, and I always kind of look at them like, well, what does content mean to you? Because that game had a crap load of maps. I think it was a mistake that they charged people for them, and I said this before, but the game had a huge amount of maps. You know, like there was a lot of content there. I don't know what else you wanted. When most people talk about content, the thing that I see time and time again on the internet is progression systems, like unlocks and all of that nonsense. And to me, that's not the way forward. You guys have heard me talk numerous times over the past year about the death of the progression system. You know, just give me all these random unlocks to keep me playing. And the gameplay needs to be what keeps you hooked, because that's what ensures that the people who are playing the game 6 months after launch are actually playing the game for the sake of playing the game. And at one point, I called the original Titanfall the anti-grind because it didn't have a heavy emphasis on progression systems. And I played it until the very last day that I stopped playing it because I enjoyed the gameplay. So I want to see those layers. You know, multiplayer games need to have complexity so the player feels consistently challenged every time they play the game, regardless of their skill level. Those are the things that need to be built into the multiplayer. It's not about infinite progression systems and prestige and camo unlocks for 600 headshots. That may keep some people playing, but I think the truth is in the core gameplay experience itself. And if they can make it interesting and, again, have those layers of complexity that keep challenging players, old and new, then that is what will help keep the multiplayer alive. And, of course, continued support after the game's launch. Free maps, charges for everything else under the sun, but please don't charge us for maps. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be free, and I know that's a difficult thing to do when you're flying under the EA banner, as they always charge people for maps. So I think they're off to a good start, though. Like when I talk about that complexity, you know, we've got 6 Titans, all these new abilities, the grappling hook, you know, it's those layers that, if implemented right, you know, those are going to help make the multiplayer more interesting every single time you go out. And I also think it's important that they really look at their matchmaking process this time around. One of the big issues I had in the extensive time that I played the first Titanfall was that my team almost never got matched up against, you know, a fair group. It felt like you were always annihilating the other team or being annihilated. The matchmaking wasn't there. And that's not fun. You know, winning may seem like it's all fine and dandy, but when you constantly win and there is no challenge presented by the other players on the enemy team, that gets old really quickly. So I think that's one issue that existed. That hopefully they can they can work out and tweak and see how all of that goes down. You know, there's not much else to be said about the multiplayer. You know, we're just gonna have to wait till we can actually play it. And I would like to point out one last thing before we go. They are actually going to be doing a multiplayer tech test. If you're interested in potentially getting selected for this multiplayer tech test, you're going to want to hit the link that I have down in the description below. Go ahead and sign up for the newsletter for it. I also would recommend going into your Origin account settings if you're on PC or even Xbox or PlayStation 4 and enabling the box for Titanfall under the beta testing tab. There's like a testing tab in Origin. If you don't know about it, find it. Check the box for Titanfall. That could potentially also get you in, although they haven't said anything directly about that. Last and definitely not least, we do have an official release date. The game will be launching on October 28th of this year on both the Xbox One, PC, and now welcoming all of our fellow Titans over on the PlayStation 4. So an even bigger audience, which I think can also potentially help drive the game's multiplayer community. Super stoked for Titanfall 2, guys. There's a lot of awesome stuff going on here. You know, I like seeing the core Titanfall gameplay intact because I think that was wonderful. And I'm really excited to see them taking a lot of risks, you know, throwing in more movement abilities like the grappling hook, embracing what made Titanfall Titanfall and not trying to directly compete with games that Titanfall simply isn't, like Call of Duty. It's trying to set itself apart. And the last thing I really want to talk about game modes wise was we noticed in this trailer the preservation of bots. There's bots. We see grunts at one point. I like that kind of stuff, and I know a lot of people looked at Titanfall and they're like, we don't want that. We just want to capture the flag. And I've been playing capture the flag, domination variants, team deathmatch variants since I've been playing first-person shooters. I want something new, and in order to create something new, the developer needs to take what makes their game special, what makes it stand out from the other games, and design game modes around that. Titanfall did that with attrition. I want to see that evolve. I want to see more of that. I liked hacking the Spectres and, you know, using them to my whim. It was exciting and fun, and it kept the flow of combat moving. So hopefully there's more goodies like that. You know, if they want to throw in a team deathmatch for the people who like boring old team deathmatch, that's fine. But remember, at one point in time, Conquest inside of Battlefield wasn't a thing. And when they did it, it was special because no one had done it before. So hopefully they can hit gold with something they do in Titanfall 2. Let me know your thoughts, guys, on everything that we saw today. If there's anything that stood out to you that you'd like to discuss, feel free to throw it down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.